Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Just a quick note that I think we definitely want to be doing these things a little bit more often, and we're super thankful for everyone's interest. But first we wanted to get the gameplay video out there, just so everyone had something to look at and digest, and really see what we're working on. So we're super excited to get that out there for you guys.
Right. And I'll echo that. And thank you everyone for just being here. I mean, we want to reiterate we're super extremely thankful for every single person which is in the community. It's so interesting to develop the characters and the gameplay story and everything else with your feedback. And as Dan just mentioned, this is the right time for us to gather your opinions and see what is really interesting, both from the people inside the server and from all the other communities that reached out. I think I want to keep this as a two-way process. So we are learning what you guys are really interested in. Just be patient with us since it's the first one we're doing. So we're really going to learn how to do this over time. And and I just want to say both the team and I, we have like so good for us to every day come and see all the things you share, what you guys think, the art, the memes, the ideas. It just really energizes us and inspire us to do better every day. So a couple of notes here. We'll try to keep this 30, 40 minutes. And please be aware we may not be able to answer every single question just because we're still developing something or we will disclose things at a later time. I've seen you're doing this already, so please type the questions in the AMA questions thread. Zone will repeat those and I will try to give an answer. And also just a small disclaimer that we are recording this session, so we can look at it later and see what we have to learn, and also for the people that cannot participate today. And with that said, I'm very happy to start here. And by the way, I'm Vincenzo Alagna, I'm the CEO of the company, and Dan is my co-founder and president, and Zone is leading the marketing community efforts. You've seen them from from being in the server all the time. So with this, I'll let you, John, and then say a couple more words, and then I think we can probably jump in with the questions from the guys.
Cool. So good to be here. I'm Zan. I've been doing digital marketing since 2010, advertising for browser-based games and mobile apps before joining the team sometime in mid-November. I'm glad to be here. I'm on the chats and always available to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Dan. I guess on the game, I do most of the game design and help manage the team a little bit. But so a lot of the game design stuff you can talk to me about. And go ahead, Vincenzo.
Very good. I mean, okay, the audience is actually growing, guys. This is like so exciting. Okay, so many things. I hope we don't screw this up. All right. How do we want to go? Like, we should start with the first questions in the list. John, you read them, and I will either Dan or I or yourself will take it, and we'll try to answer. Okay.
Sure. So Alex has a question. Is that one hero per whitelist address or a set of heroes to be sold?
Okay. I can take this one. We're still working out a couple of the details there, but for now we are definitely going to guarantee at least one hero for whitelist address, and then there is going to be some packs where there is multiple heroes inside, but there is a limited amount that can be purchased. But yeah, we'll try to guarantee at least one hero per whitelist.
Gotcha. So Dark Griffin asks, what will be the maximum players limit for the guilds?
Yeah, that we haven't determined yet either. But yeah, Vincenzo, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I mean the initial thought is that we in the previous games what we've seen is that there are different groups based on functionality. So 10 to 20, all the way up to 50, and it will be depending on. I see there are a couple of questions later on how to create the guilds. So it's not going to be set at the very beginning. It depends on the experience in the guild, and slowly we'll open more. And also a lot depends on how much the technology level we can handle. So far, I will say like, expect like 10, 20, 50, maybe later, like we can expand it to 100, but that's what we've seen in the previous games we've done. Usually that's a good indication, but it will really depend on which kind of guild medallions you guys will acquire, but we can talk about this later.
Great. How many factions are going to be on launch?
Yeah, right now there's 5 factions. And so, each hero kind of belongs to a single faction and tells a little bit about what their background is. So, I think we'll talk a little bit more about the lore behind each of the factions coming up pretty soon. But then, the factions also have some implications around how the heroes are ascended.
Gotcha. Will land barons have to spend in real life money? If so, around how much?
Ooh, I knew this question. Like, I would want like that, Griffin. I love that you're bringing this up. I reserve the right on this one just to defer it for later, because this is one of the parts that is more intense for us in terms of design. So just please, this is one of the questions that we're going to defer for later. Sorry about that, but yeah, this is like, I wouldn't want to say something that until we have all our math done correctly. So we'll just defer it for later. And how to get the guild medallions. So here is a more generic thing, and I think I can probably skip also do what Alex is asking later on. We are planning to do the alpha of the game. We're working very hard for this around July. And we will not allow for any purchases or anything that is not already, for anything that is not already implemented in the game. Okay. The only exception will be the VIP passes, but everything has to be tied to something which is already working on the same day when we launch the features. So same thing for the guild medallions, all these other things. We may test them during the alpha, but we will launch them once we had the chance to test at least with a couple of hundred players the functionality.
And just to give a little bit more color on the alpha, like we'll start alpha most likely in July. And then it's not just a single alpha, right? Like we'll constantly be, upgrading and adding more features as time goes on. So yeah, it's gonna be a process, right? Where we keep on releasing new alphas and new versions and testing out new things, and then that'll help open up a lot of other things for the players. Also, I guess the next question that we kind of skipped over is how much of an impact will guilds have on the game? Yeah, that one, I think the guilds will have quite a lot of impact on the game, right? Like, I think a lot of the typical MMO functions are there, where if you guys want to group up and go into a dungeon or take on a raid boss together, sometimes coordinating all that can be a lot easier in a guild, right? And just like really figuring out like what players are taking on what roles to take down a certain boss. That sort of stuff I think will be really, really important. And I think another thing that we'll have in the game is there'll be fortresses kind of spread out on the map, and guilds can also capture those fortresses as well. And then that'll have other implications on what territory the guilds own inside of the world, and then guilds can then battle over those fortresses. So I think guilds will have a ton of things they can fight over, and then inside of the guild there'll be a lot of interaction that happens as well. So maybe guilds will have their own set of blacksmiths or alchemists or whatever to kind of help feed the guild with better and better items.
Great. So Mill asks, who is eligible to be selected as an alpha and beta tester when the game comes live?
So
Yeah, Vincenzo.
yeah, we will give priority to in the order to the VIP passes first. So the first people with a platinum VIP pass will come into the alpha. After that, the people with the gold pass. As quickly as possible. If we could, we'll do everything on day one, right? If we were able, we'll allow everybody on day one, like for the platinum pass, there could be like a little bit of sequencing there. And so if we can allow around the first 1,000 players to come in, then if everything holds, we'll start to open to a little bit more people with the whitelist badges. And so everybody which has got the current badge or eventually the VIP passes, those are the ones that will come in this order. You have to bear with us, guys. Sometimes, as Dan mentioned, the first week it could be the first 100 players, and then moving to 200 players, 300 players, 500 players, and so on. It just really depends on how well technically the launch goes and how well the features are functioning, and getting feedback from for quality assurance from you guys. So there is going to be some variability there, but that will be the order. So first platinum, and then gold, and then all the other people that we have in the community that got the whitelisting. And this will probably be the first 3,000 players. How long that will last, it really depends.
How many max heroes per account? Is there a certain number of heroes we can play and switch in between and things like that?
Yeah, right now there's no max heroes per account. You do only play one hero at a time, but switching between that hero is pretty easy. So, as you're playing the game, if your hero's not in combat, then you can kind of just open up a window and switch heroes. It's not like other MMOs where you have to log out and then select your character and then log back in. You can pretty much switch on the fly. And we want to make that like a big part of the game where choosing which hero you are in for a given situation is pretty easy to do. We don't want you to exploit things like if you're in the middle of a battle, you can switch to another hero because your other guy's about to die. That sort of stuff, won't happen. But really, if you're not in a battle and you're just kind of walking around, it's really easy just to open up a quick window and switch to whatever hero you have.
So I know guilds are built native into the game. One of the questions is, what qualifications are required to create a guild?
I think we need to probably clarify a little bit more. Like, are we talking about the more generic guilds, like the YGG kind of guilds, or like more in-game guilds? If it is in-game guild, like there is going to be like the guild medallions, and that's what is going to allow you to create your first guild.
Are you planning to release the alpha on mobile or PC first?
Yeah, the first alpha will be on PC. Mobile will come at some point later, but I think it's just it's a little easier and a little bit more flexible for us to launch something on PC first.
How many aspects will be available during the alpha or beta test, like boss rages, PvP, things like that?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to go over all the features in the alpha right now. Well, I think as we get closer, we'll let you guys know the whole subset of features. But I think in general, a lot of the basic features that you come to expect will be there, right? Like you'll be able to run around, kill monsters. There'll be bosses. You'll be able to get loot and craft gear out of that. So I think that kind of basic loop will be there, and of course, leveling up your hero, all that sort of good stuff. So, and more advanced features may come a little bit later.
Okay, so Hataru asks, when combining heroes to develop their abilities, will it use a lot of resources or not? How do you make the game accessible to all groups? Because the number of heroes held in each person's account, will it make much of a difference in combat?
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways to upgrade the hero, right? And not, some paths will be really, really easy, right? Like, of course, leveling up your hero with experience is just as easy as kind of going out and killing monsters and getting experience, right? And that increases your stats. Um, there's a lot of other things too, like ascension, getting gear, getting your talents, and some of those may be easy or hard, and some of those things it is just like kind of doing tasks in the game, right? And some of those things will also will be gotten other ways. Um, I think that the thing that makes this game a little bit different in terms of combat is, soloing monsters for, like low level monsters. I think that'll be really, really easy. I think when it comes to attacking bosses and stuff like that, we want to make it so you need to cooperate with other people, and people can kind of bring in a variety of heroes to group together. And then it really comes down to the coordination of the group. And it's not like everyone needs to be the same level to take on a boss, right? We're going to allow a level range of heroes to be able to tackle a boss and take it down. But there will have to be some strategy in terms of like what heroes are best to bring, what gear should you be wearing, what resistances do you want to have on your heroes so you can withstand their attacks, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think in general the important thing is cooperation, right? So if you're grouping with another amount of people, not everybody's going to have the same role. So if you have to bring mages, tanks, support, and all these kind of things to bring down a boss, it's important that you have the group of friends and people that work with you. So even if like at some point it may be a little bit harder to upgrade like a couple of the years, like hopefully with the right guild and the right friends around to help you kill other bosses, you will get some of the resources and this will be balanced. So of course some of these things, guys, it takes a lot of time to completely fine tune perfectly, but we'll try our best to make sure that people that can invest the time there, they will have a meaningful progression in the game.
So, yeah, touching upon cooperation and working together. So, will there be a party option where when you're farming or leveling up together with your friends, do you get like kill monsters and get XPs that shared?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, so the party option may not be there in the very first alpha, but we'll definitely have a party option at some point in the game because going into dungeons, makes a lot of sense, of course, to have a party. So only those people go inside of that instance of the dungeon. Things like experience, we want to make it really, really easy to cooperate. So if someone is if someone is attacking a boss or attacking a monster and you want to just help them out or roll up on them and start killing that monster with them, then the experience and the loot will get split between everyone who participated in that battle. And that's and we have some formula for that tries to make that fair, right? Like kind of depending on the hero's levels and how long they participate in that battle. So I think we want to make it a really, really cooperative experience. So as you kind of see battles happening around the map, if you want to go and help out, it's really, really easy. Certain higher level monsters may um, may it may be tough for you to help out, right? Because we want to have we want level to mean something there, right? So if you try to attack a monster that's too high level and there's a group there, he might just wipe you out if you're too low level. And that's just kind of, I think, just part of making a good game, right? There has to be limits and challenges there. But leveling up, if you're appropriate level and you want to help someone attack a monster, then by all means you should go for it.
Cool. So Freak asks, will there be a token IDO?
I'll take the one and say we can't talk about this right now. Sorry, I know, but yeah, well, let's skip this question for the future. As you guys see in the white paper, we are talking about tokens, and there is some tokens wording in there. But yeah, let's defer this question for now.
Okay. So Nevermind asks, what are the main issues you have been sticking with, or are there still sticking with during the development phase of the game?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
I guess it's more about the difficulty of developing like the MMO project itself. Never mind if you can clarify the question. We are happy to answer that. Is that what you mean?
Okay, well, we'll ask the next one then.
Mm-hmm.
When will the community whitelist end?
So we are trying to, I mean, use the cadence that we had so far it's around 25 to 30 plus some other corporations. And so that will be up to exhaustion of the 1,000 whitelists spots that are available. We may do some things that accelerate a little bit more. I think it will be completed before the launch of the alpha. So yeah, you can make the math from here until then.
Do we have a general timetable for the project?
Right now, we're looking at alpha for the July for the alpha launch of the game, and from there, we'll kind of be adding new features as we go, and that's probably like the best date that we can give right now.
Okay. Hatur asks, what is the specialty of a hero Gen Zero, and why should we be part of this whitelist to get it?
Vincenzo?
Yeah, I mean, Gen Zero is a trait that will stay attached to the heroes. So we will go a little bit more into discussions about what that means, but let's put it this way. As the game progresses, of course, there is going to be some features attached to either the history of a character. I know this is things that we want to announce a little later in terms of features, but I can give you a hint here. Because the trait will always be there, there are going to be some features that will work very well with that trait. Right? So if you have a Gen Z hero, imagine there is some events dedicated to them or other functionalities linked to this. We don't want to talk about everything like specifically in detail, but that will always stay with the hero, even if you fuse it with other heroes later on. And so the trait is actually passable on to other heroes, and your Gen Zero will still be available. So there are going to be some features in the game that are only dedicated to this, on top of some visual swag that you can attach to your character and profile because you're owning a Gen Zero hero. And this is the only one we're going to do them, the very first one. But yeah, I mean, I know it's like probably not revealing everything. We just want to keep that part of a little bit more of a surprise. But yeah, keep in mind that will exist for the entire existence of the game. The Gen Zero will stay there. That's right.
So Brian asks, with GameFi and NFT markets kind of in an explosive period compared to other projects, what makes WIO's core? What is like WIO's core competitiveness compared to others, and how do they increase the liquidity of NFTs, and what is the liquidity reward?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about at least what I think the core competitiveness is that like for me, I think that kind of making a true MMO, right, where everyone's in the same world together that can cooperate and see the same stuff, and that world's persistent, and that you can affect that world, and that world has its own kind of living economy. I think that's a big part of why I think WIO's pretty competitive. And not only that, we want to make like a fun game first, and then if the fun then drives up people's interest in the project and playing the game, then I think that really helps out. I think that helps out all the different types of assets in the game as well. So I think that that to me is like, you make a fun game first, and everything else kind of falls out of that later.
Okay. Go ahead, Vincenzo.
Yeah, and if I can add one small thing to this, like the way we're thinking in general is about creating this universe around, like it's a fantasy universe. As you see the characters, again, I'm super excited. I don't know how many versions of some of the characters you've been making, Murlina, Lila, Dark Primal, like all these characters, you guys have been really producing a lot of content around them. So the universe and the story, the lore, just like creating that as a layer to build the games on top. And so the game, the fun of the game, the characters, if all these things work together, it's something we have not seen being done so far in the blockchain space. So like also we're trying to rush like crazy to just be the first one to propose this, to offer this added value to everyone. And you know, we are excited. Like Dan and I, like, you know, we are traditionally coming from like aggressive MMO players. Dan knows probably more about World of Warcraft than anybody else I met in my life and other games around. And so we're coming with that spirit, right? We want to build something where we've spent like thousands of hours before, and that's the good thing. And if that community, you build it this way, right? You build a product that has appeal, and then you push up essentially the participation and how much you want something, right? And in this case, like, you know, the hours of gameplay and the hours of friendships and honing some collectibles is all part of the same equation.
And I would also add to that one more thing, is that like for us, you know, making an MMO is one thing, right? But adapting it to this type of world, I think it was important to kind of add in this, to have this like crafting economy, right? Where every, you know, things that players need, like gear and potions and pets and stuff like that, all that's part of this economy where the players who are playing heroes kind of create those resources, and then there's other players, they need to interact with other players to kind of make all that stuff, and that stuff is necessary to kind of progress forward, right? And it's not like we have NPCs, which are, you know, blacksmiths and you know, you're giving your resources to those NPCs. It doesn't work like that, right? We want to put players in the center of those interactions, and that's why I think, you know, as long as the people have fun playing the game and have the interest, then there has to be interactions with these other roles in the game, which include, like, you know, crafting, players that are crafters and players that own the land. So, you know, to me, that's just part of the system that makes all games run. But, you know, instead of having NPCs there, we're having players there, and that to me is why this economy will work.
So we have a question about a hero ascension. Can you explain how hero ascensions work? If they're in the same factions, can they ascend together? And if they have different traits, do they get a random trait, or, you know, how does that all work?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good question. So first of all, hero ascension affects a few different things, right? Like, it raises the rarity of your hero. It gives you a slight stat boost, and it also raises the max level of your hero. And depending on which phase of ascension that you're doing, it can either require a duplicate of the hero that you already have. So, so maybe I forget which stage is which, but, like, you know, it could be that you have a rare, you need another rare version of that hero, and then you kind of put those two guys together and you go to the next level, which is it epic? And then, but then every other phase you can absorb two other heroes from the same faction, so you don't have to have a duplicate on those stages, right? So it could be that I have a barbarian girl, and then and she's part of the Wild Tribes faction, so I just need to absorb two other heroes from the Wild Tribes faction, and they have to be the same rarity. So, you know, if it's a common barbarian girl, then I just need two other commons from that faction, from her faction. And then when you ascend, it does absorb one of the traits from the people that you're absorbing. And so then you have an additional trait on your ascended hero.
Well,
That makes sense. But it's a little bit of a complicated process. I know. So I'm glad someone asked that.
we have another question. So GameFi is not always going to be number one. So for the gamers or industry players, they might switch to other games in this respect. What plans do we all have to attract a strong fan base, and how do we want to have gamers remain with the game for a long time? What's built into the game?
Right. So the foundation of MMOs in general, it really revolves around the community of players in there. So um, I think the games that you have seen in the market that that have a lot of longevity, they've been trying to do a quality service for their customers and in general the players. And so, but then and we had experience in the past, like doing games where I think we exceeded around 500 million installs in the previous games, right? Um, and so we have seen those groups and communities evolve over time, stick around, and trying to get some of the learning. But you guys can all see these communities these days, right? There are some communities that decline regardless of their quality. If you look at like WoW or other similar games, there are communities that are thriving, like League of Legends, Dota, and so on. And so on. I think that the answer will be anybody that tries to just say, "Hey, it's going to be like you know simple." They probably didn't do it before. What I can say is that the focus should be from the company to always provide added value and quality service, and trying to create a compelling story and universe so that people can stick around. If you look at other universes like Marvel or these other things which are really character centric, that's what I think we should be focusing on, and trying to make like stories that can last long, and adapt the gameplay over time to reflect what the new play style for people are. I think the MMO is a long lasting genre that has been around like for many years, evolved from mods and then more graphical and all the way to the more modern ones, and be more and more connected. Before you were separated in servers and now not. You're trying always to build like a larger world with more players simultaneously. Um, so I think that is our bet. That's our where we're coming with the expertise, and this is what we're going to try to do. So a good game, quality service, community oriented, with a good universe behind it, and those are the things we sustain as unique selling point for us.
I would also say that kind of evolving the and adding more content over time, right? So like whether that means like adding new heroes or giving existing heroes new abilities, or adding more events, and just adding new features for new things for people to fight over, as well as new bosses, new gear, new equipment. All that sort of great stuff is constantly going to be changing. And I think part of why we call this a sandbox MMO is because we want the world to be affected by the players and have that be very organic. And so, kind of as players, figure out and fight over things and capture things, and how the politics between you guys develops over time as we release kind of these new features for you guys to play with. It's not just like an MMO where you go and kill 10 boars and then move on to the next area, right? It's going to be this world that you guys are fighting over and constantly changing yourself. And in that way, I feel like the world's a little bit more dynamic, and a little bit more interesting to play in.
Cavity wants to know what's the focus of the team now? Is it more focused on the development of the game, or is it the marketing?
I would say it's definitely on the development of the game, right? So poor Zahn does not have a whole lot of help in the marketing department right now. So so yeah, most of the team is engineering and artists and a few designers.
Right, and I mean, this every company wants to make a product. You have to focus simultaneously on pretty much all the aspects. But yeah, our intention was, if this is one of the main differences for us. If we were to do just marketing, By the way, like again, we are a US based company and everything else, so we have to go through some particular steps here. But uh, we made sure that we had a demo ready like 2 years ago when we started, and we tried to raise capital from equity investors and to get the funding to build the game first, and go to the community and customers and players with something that is already working. Like I wouldn't try to do it the other way around. Try to position and market a product and then try to develop that. That's not what we're trying to do. And this is why we're getting like the release. That's why we're taking so long sometimes with the whitelist, the hero sales and everything. We want to have everything that is workable, it's in game, you guys can see immediately the value reflected. And so like, yeah, definitely make the game work first. And this is why we didn't go wide uh, out so strongly that just to market. But as the features come online, you see the video is the first thing, the white paper release, and we'll release the more content, everything that we've been producing over the next weeks and months. That will show what we've been doing internally. Yeah, development first, and then we can always go into marketing.
Awesome. My Atrio asks, he wants to know what the gap of the free to play players versus the play to win players are. How much gap is there going to be? And is there a chance that a free to play will win versus a play to win player?
Yeah. So I think the way I think about it is that the free to play player can get like a few heroes leveled up really really well over a reasonable amount of time, right? But the pay to win player is just, or the paying player is really just going to have more diverse hero cast, right? And that's like how it relates to heroes with the other roles like crafting and stuff like that. That's maybe a little bit different, but I kind of view it as um, the paying player just has a more broader set of heroes to choose from that are more leveled up. Um, but certainly, like a free player can get far and have like a nice hero, but and there'll be plenty of bosses for them to take on. But sometimes it's just nicer if you want to play a different hero role, or if a boss really is expecting like a certain composition of heroes, then a free player may not always have those heroes in their arsenal.
Right,
Okay.
and one more thing, like we have been doing many of these games as well in the past. Just consider this, right? Like there are like if you have time and dedication in there, you should be able to unlock a lot of things, but other people don't, so they can accelerate a little bit of the game, but the cooperation is still key, right? So some players will have to cooperate among each other, and so you will always be able to participate in something.
Gotcha. So Yuna asked from the latest trailer, she saw many cool views in the game. That's not just the bird eye view. Do we have any plans to create a button to switch from bird eye's view to a 3D view? Any modes like that?
We haven't. We definitely could do that, and we've been talking about that a lot internally. I still think that like the ideal way to play the game will be somewhat of a kind of RTS or MOBA style camera. Um, but you can zoom in and zoom out quite a bit. I think if you were to probably drop down to a third person view, it would it might look nice, and that's fine, and we can definitely provide that. But it may not be the easiest way to play the game because the whole control scheme is built around point to click or and click to move. So we want to make that very very easy, and we just thought that driving a hero around with WASD was going to be a little bit harder, especially if we want to do mobile.
For those who can't get whitelisted, how do we get involved? Is there a public sale of the NFTs?
Yeah, Vincenzo?
The there will be a public sales for the VIP passes for sure at the beginning, and then I mean this is the first thing we'll do, and then for sure like there will be other ways to acquire NFTs. It's just like we are going to give priority to the whitelists and the early adopters. But yeah, the VIP passes will be available, and then as we release the features in the game, and there's going to be multiple seasons, more content will come online. You guys can participate there. But yeah, the passes are being structured for this specific reason.
And just to be clear, VIP gives you whitelist.
Yeah. Next question is whether Wheel will make its own innovations for NFTs. For example, Cradle uses the ERC-3664 protocol to allow players to customize their own NFTs with components, and NBA has dynamic NFTs where these NFTs don't stay static. The traits will evolve over the course of the playoffs based on each player's real-life performance.
So we are not going to probably use the ERC-3664, but the NFTs have they are dynamic during the ascension, and then they level up as you play. So their talents, their level and experience is all going to be reflected. So the more you utilize your NFT in the game, the more the level will increase, and the more the traits as you ascend and fuse them will evolve as well. So if I think that captures the dynamic element. It's probably not coming from external data, but it's coming from the actions that you guys perform with the character, or the history of the character through all like the existence of the game. Like if this character passes ends to another player, will retain like some of the stats, and so then that character may live for years inside the game and keep evolving over time. So yeah, that part is dynamic in that sense.
And same thing with like the crafting side of things as well, right? Like all the recipes that you find and you learn. Like say you're a blacksmith and you find some recipes and then you have your blacksmith learn them. That stays with your blacksmith. Any upgrades that you do to your blacksmith also stays with your blacksmith. So if you happen to find a bunch of fire recipes and then you upgrade your blacksmith to have plus 25% fire damage for anything that you make that has fire damage on it initially, then that stays with your blacksmith, and maybe you become like the best fire blacksmith in the world. And kind of the example I give is if the ice monster is coming out and you want everyone needs to come to you to make like the best fire equipment, right? So that's kind of the way I think about the NFTs evolving and getting better stuff and kind of keeping that stuff.
So in addition to Wheel games, does the team plan to have any other future projects?
Future projects?
Yeah, like after Wheel game, is there any other plans, or do we just continue to develop Wheel more in depth and stuff?
I mean, we'll be here supporting Wheel as long as you guys want us to, and if the game's successful, then yeah, we'll be here. As far as future games, we'd love to also do future games as well. But really, right now we're 100% focused on Wheel, and we want to see how that goes. But yeah, I think anything's possible in the future.
Gotcha. And this is going to be the last question. How do we plan to maintain the sustainability economic system with only one type of token?
Oh, sorry, where is that question?
It's so with the GameFi and markets being explosive compared to other projects, how do we plan to maintain the sustainable economic system?
I see. Yeah, I think we kind of answered a similar question earlier on.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get fully all the way into the economics of whether like a one token system or two token system works. Like there'll be many currencies in the game, right? Like not all of them will be tokens, but you can harvest gold at a gold mine, or you can gather some food at a bush, or you can kill monsters for loot. So really, there are a lot of different currencies flying around in the game, and just a lot of different resources, right? Which I think are typical of all games. I think it's about balancing when those transactions happen. Is there, if we're giving out some set of rewards, whatever type of currency that is, whether that's a token or whether that's some sort of other in-game resource, we have to make sure that we're um, supplying those rewards properly in a sustainable way, right? So if some rewards going out, there has to be some input as well. And as long as we keep that balanced over time, then that's, I think, what's important.
Great.
All right.
So yeah,
I think like we're playing on 30 40 minutes. This is was being a little longer. But this is lovely and great. Like this is 135 people a year, and you guys have been. This is super super good for us, and the questions are great. Like I think we are learning a lot of about what is interesting for you guys, and hopefully we can also publish new announcements and new information in the coming weeks. We will watch again the video and see if we missed some important information here. We'll just write it down for you guys. Zon, go ahead. What were you about to say?
yeah, no, we're gonna close it off, but we wanted to, award maybe 20 whitelists to all the people who, participated in this AMA, and we'll probably do like a random giveaway and just, raffle and select 20 people from the people who participated in here.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, and please keep asking things in general, and other questions even after the AMA. We're more than happy to learn from all of you guys, and super stoked. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye.